All right, everyone. Right now, there are two Islamic women who are running for Congress, and to the liberals, I guess this is a big thing. I'm not understanding why, because it's like, okay, they're religious. So, who fucking cares, dude? You spent 20 years talking about church and state this, church and state that. People who are too religious shouldn't be in office at all, and now you're celebrating this. And I was thinking to myself, their names are Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm probably mistaken in that, but whatever. They're Islamic, so they'll be in office while happening to be Islamic. I'm sure that if they legislated based on that, the liberals wouldn't have a problem with it, right? They're celebrating it. It doesn't make any sense. Like if they were Mormons or something, would you say, "Oh, good, we need more Mormon representation in the U.S. Congress"? Then I was thinking to myself, look. Call me back when it's an interesting religion. Look, if the left wants to abandon the church and state, religion is a cancer sort of stuff, okay, fine. Be forthcoming about it, number one. Number two, what about an interesting religion? Like Islam and Christianity are the two biggest world religions. Hinduism is up there and Buddhism too. And then there's irreligion is pretty common, although hardline atheism not so much. Irreligion is one of the most common religions in the world. It's just that a lot of people conflate that with like Dawkins-style atheism or something. It's pretty funny. Technically, I'm irreligious while happening to be a pagan spiritually because I don't belong to any organized group within any organized system of paganism. Call me back when it's an interesting group that's actually underrepresented in world politics. Like, how many nations are led completely by Islamic governments? To the theocratic sense. The same with Christianity. There are Christian governments in this world that are essentially theocratic in nature. They're representative maybe or semi-secular, but if you're not a Christian, you're not in government. The same is true of Islam. The same is true to an extent now at this point with Hinduism in India. So and Buddhism, after a fashion, a cultural fashion. Where's the Wiccan government in the world? When are we going to have like a Wiccan president or a Satanist or something? Or someone who is Aurelian or... Yeah, that would be interesting. It would certainly be provocative and antagonistic. I think Satanic Temple occasionally delves into politics. Not just the activistic side, but they should run a candidate for the presidency who's like an avowed actual devil worshiper just to troll people. Now, that's what I want to see. Like, if the liberals want to pretend to be edgy, like having Muslims in government, it's like, okay, Sadiq Khan is the mayor of London. There are Islamic governments all over the world. It's not just in the Middle East, too. Look at Malaysia. Look at what the president of Malaysia just said a few days ago with regards to Jewish people, and you get a feel for world politics that's vastly different than the very limited view of it that you get if in your sort of gated community liberaldom. Gated community liberals, they look at the world and I guess they don't acknowledge the existence of the entire Middle East, nor of Malaysia, Indonesia, and certain other nations. They think in very stereotypical, very brutish terms towards other people in the world. So naturally they're celebrating that a couple of lawmakers would be Muslims. I'm not going to sit there and act like I'm all that impressed. Look at how many people follow Islam in the world. It's a significant number. Yeah, you're going to end up with some Muslims in government. Now again, where's the hardline atheists? Look, Gary Johnson right now is running for the Senate, which I think is hilarious. And he's running for within the position in New Mexico, he could actually feasibly win. He has enough support in the state of New Mexico to potentially do it. Look, he's been the governor twice. He comes in with wind at his back, basically an advantage. Now, he's basically running as a never-Trumper, which is hilarious. He's like, well, I need to hold Trump accountable, immigration and stuff. He's focusing on the social side of libertarianism, maybe. And he's an open-borders pseudo-libertarian who represents, basically what the LP has devolved into very quickly after a wave of new libertarians was minted because of Ron Paul, who was a Republican, but who is still more libertarian than the Johnsonites. Austin Peterson, I think, would be the closest mainstream thing. And he, of course, didn't get the Republican nod there, which is like people were saying, well, Austin Peterson will be the one running. It won't be Hawley. And I'm like, no, dude, it's going to be Hawley. And as for these so-called liberals, it's like I'm seeing the libertarians now want open borders. The Republicans do not want to invade foreign countries. The Democrats want you to be like religious if you go into office, either bow before the Pope or maybe be Islamic or something, and have actually begun to reject the atheists too. They're like, well, atheism is tied with sexism and white nationalism at this point. Yeah, we're not in a paradigm shift at all. That has nothing to do with culture. Yeah, no, I think that we are. We're seeing a major shift within these parties, and in some cases it's in a good direction, as with the Republicans on maybe foreign interventionism, certainly on taxes, like Trump's the first Republican president to actually pass comprehensive tax reform. Or deregulation, which most Republicans have never done. Now all we need is for them to adopt spending cuts. The problem being Trump is a big tax cut, big spend style Republican, not a slash and burn everything post-Reaganite Republican. He's not a Ron Paul, in other words. Mild reform, as I said. The liberals are moving in a shitty direction. They now embrace corporate censorship and think that it's not only is it legal, but it's wonderful. Like, we're not going to stand in the way. We used to say Facebook was evil, like China, for telling people what they could think and telling people, oh, you know, conduct propaganda. They were like communist China. Now we love them. We love Mark Zuckerberg's shit, and we love to sniff it all day. That's basically what liberaldom has devolved into. And by the way, religion is a good thing. Yeah, it can save our souls and it can save our countries because the Pope came out and said he wanted to build bridges instead of walls. Woohoo, hail God. That's basically what the Democrats have become. And along with them, the so-called liberals, which have always been the majority. Actual liberals appear to be a very small minority of the Democratic Party. Most of the social justice warriors, the progressives so-called aren't liberal either. They're basically socialists. No, there's a little bit of a difference between those two general terms. It's not part of a sliding scale. They're considerably ideologically different. Socialist wants to rob you and give like shitty healthcare to everyone and be an authoritarian. Liberal in the older sense is like very distrustful of government power. It's basically, yeah, you limit the bureaucracy if you're going to redistribute. Charity starts at home, basically. It's really more of a populist angle. So I look at this and I see these candidates. I'm like, okay, it's wonderful. Okay, so now there will be Islamic people in Congress. Who fucking cares? Look, if somebody who opposed it cared too much about it and talked too much about it, you'd call them a bigot. Well, isn't it a little bit more of the Democratic Party's usual spew of identity politics to really talk about this constantly and act like it's a great thing? It's like with Halquist here. The Democrats are like, woohoo, we've got the first transgendered main party nominee for governor. Who fucking cares? Look at her platform and judge her on that. That's what I'm going to be voting for or against come November. I'll be voting against it, obviously. I think that basic fiscal platform would be a disaster for this state. I don't care about who is someone's genitals or which god they worship. I'm going to judge them based on their proposals and their actual demonstrable behavior. Sometimes that means people that have supposedly a lot in common with me, like some libertarian pagan, I might think they're a scumbag. I might totally disagree with the way that they do business and hate them as a person. Well, like, I'm supposed to bond with them and shit because they happen to be a pagan and a libertarian. No, that's not the way I live my life at all. Likewise, if you're voting for someone because you're like, oh, this will be historic. Person is transgendered. They're Islamic. They're a dwarf. The first dwarf president or something. Who fucking cares, dude? Judge them based on the content of their character. In other words, do the opposite of what the Democrats have been doing since about the 1970s. That's about all. Peace out.